Back at the Cops.
Back at Goodwood, the home of golf.
Picked a day for it as well.
Well, mate, to be fair, it's been quite a nice spring, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Great for golfers, shit for gardeners.
Didn't help really with the round of golf this morning though, did it?
Well, I played all right, as always.
Yeah, I didn't. What are we now, episode 8, 9?
Don't know, it's become a blur.
Some interesting characters, but I think today's guest is the one that I've been waiting for.
Yeah, I think people as well they always ask us about the payroll thing. So I think today we just get it out. Us versus them, the good and the bad and the ugly.
We can give our side of the story of why we hate them. We've got someone here who's going to defend them because that's their world. Adam, come on, mate.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Adam Jordan, owner and founder of Supply Into. Previous to that, I was owner and part of an umbrella company for 9 years. So pretty much understand what payroll is as a business and what it does and how it supports a certain element of the contracting space. So very interested to hear about HardHats a little bit more, and knowing the guys now for several years, I'm fascinated a little bit about why you feel that doesn't sort of fit your criteria.
Yeah, well, construction, yeah.
There's a number of labels and terms used for payroll companies, umbrellas, commercial contractors. You've got the PAYE model, you've got the CIS model, and it all seems to be blurred into one.
Yeah, and we'll be fair about where it does fit, because there is a world for it.
Yes.
And does suit a lot of companies.
That's it.
Yeah, let's do closest to the pin then, but let's also have a little money game skins. Yeah? For the beers afterwards.
Okay, let's go.
Well, you've mentioned the magic word there, money. So I'm in.
Yeah.
We're all within.
So we know each other from LinkedIn, and what I know of you is the Into brand. So how did you get to there?
Yeah, good question. So spending 9 years building an umbrella business, which then sort of got infiltrated by quite a lot of new competitors, I decided to diversify and look at the fact that the recruitment industry spend quite a lot of time focusing in and concentrating on the front end with their candidates and the clients and retention. So their mid-office and back-office functionality, which is pretty much a large area of their cost center. I saw a gap to promote a business that could solve that issue or solve those problems. So the Into brand effectively is a cost control of all of their variable costs, making sure they get a return for their investment when outsourcing to a third-party supplier.
So it could be a piece of software, CRM, it could be their insurances, their contracts, anything.
So as they grow, they're going to have to probably outsource more. Some try to keep it in-house for as long as possible, but they're going to be at a place where they're going to have to outsource to reduce that sort of cost variable. So that's when they go out to a third-party supplier. Now, most of them Google, ask on LinkedIn, can anyone recommend?
Yeah.
The problem with that is you're just going to get bombarded,
overwhelmed,
inundated with people who are trying to win your hearts and minds.
Of course.
So I come in as that consultancy, someone who can come in and consult, find out a little bit more about what the business needs and fulfill those needs properly.
So what made you go into the recruitment industry niche and not do the similar sort of thing with end clients?
It's on the agenda.
Okay.
It's the market that I know, it's the world that I've lived in. So it's a better place to start in somewhere that's familiar.
Yeah.
I also help umbrella companies now with their suppliers.
Right,
because they outsource. Although they run payroll, they do other elements of their business. So I've effectively hit both markets, really. The end clients is a potential.
Is a potential as well.
Potential as well. Yeah.
But why did you come out of the payroll market? Because that's where you and I have always had conversations, we've always had a bit of banter. So what made you come away from that world?
I felt it was going in the wrong direction.
Why?
Just didn't feel comfortable about the way people were exploiting and taking advantage of what the model was. My motto when I launched the brand with Rax Group was compliance without compromise. We would always stick to a vanilla solution, use the travel and subsistence which was there and available. When they removed that, people got creative. And people entered the market with creative models which exploited the workers but also exploited the recruitment businesses and made them vulnerable. And the government have recognised, which is a good thing. The days of where people can exploit the system, they're tackling that. And this new piece of legislation is going to rid some of the old road traders that have been around for 10, 15 years.
Oh mate, that's good.
Right, I'm going to roll this up because I'm really not that bothered about some leaves.
What say about leaves? I might have bothered.
If those leaves weren't there, that was going in.
That was shit.
So Adam, when you had the umbrella, and I think this is really important to clear up, what was it that you guys specialised in?
Good question. So we focused on the public sector.
Okay.
Our Racks Collective Limited Company, as it was known, which was the umbrella company, primarily focused on the education sector.
Okay, so teachers.
So supply teachers,
Yeah.
teaching assistants, mainly within that sort of primary area of expertise. And the teachers loved the fact that we could perfect that travel and subsistence benefit because they were travelling to school, staying out late to do marking so they could get a subsistence of an evening meal or a breakfast, and they were taking home a little bit more in their net take-home pay. And that was what the model was designed to do.
So let's dive into the model then, because you haven't come from the industry. I know it, and I've operated PAYE umbrella, and that's fundamentally what we're talking here now. This is not CIS, this is PAYE umbrella.
Employed, yeah. So ultimately, the umbrella company technically employs them with a contract for services.
Yep.
And facilitates the payroll element and invoices the recruitment business the hours that individual worked to then deduct the right amount of PAYE tax and national insurance to pay the teacher. So it's an intermediary that sits after the teacher has been to school. So the recruitment agency invoices the school for the hours that the individual worked. The school pay the recruitment business. The umbrella company invoices the recruitment business for the hours of the teachers that they've worked. Then the umbrella pays the teachers.
But why does it exist? Why do you need the umbrella step in the middle?
Because recruitment businesses is an additional cost. So there is an additional cost to employ individuals.
Yeah.
13.8% employers NI,
Yep.
for argument's sake. So if you're outsourcing it to a third party, you're instantly saving 13.8% on your bottom line. You don't have to worry about pensions, holiday pay, all of the employment rights and responsibilities. So they're sort of doing away with the risk, effectively.
okay.
Yeah.
Because the umbrella takes on that responsibilities and that risk.
Yeah, okay.
So, but fundamentally, the setup is the same in the PAYE world as it is to us in the CIS world. You've got the recruitment agency or the construction company as it is in our world, which because it's end client. You've then got the brolly, and then you've got the individual or the worker or the subcontractor.
Or the teacher.
So or the teacher, yeah. So but fundamentally what that brolly is doing, and we'll use that as for a better word, is they're breaking the contractual chain between the recruitment agency or the client and the individual to give them the benefits of having a temporary workforce.
To a certain extent, you're right, but don't fall into the trap that construction workers generally are self-employed.
Yeah.
So they fall into a completely different
Yeah.
remit, whereas all umbrella workers are PAYE.
Yes.
There's no other way of working an umbrella company unless you're paying them PAYE.
So how were you able to allow the employed worker to reclaim travel and subsistence?
So the government invented the overarching contract,
Okay.
and then that's how the name umbrella came about. That's where the example of the overarching contract, that overarching contract allowed that individual to claim those travel and subsistence benefits, which the government allowed certain individuals to claim for certain elements to reduce their gross salary. So a quick mathematical example. Teachers on £100 a day, and they're doing 5 days a week, they're going to earn 500 quid gross. During that week of 5 days, they incurred £100 worth of expenses. What the umbrella company could do is deduct the 100 from the 500 to leave 400 gross, run £400 through pay as you earn. So they're only taxing NI'd on the 400 instead of the £500. The £100, which was their travel and subsistence, doesn't get taxed and nationally insured. We pay the £100 back into their net pay. So on average, they're taking home an extra 15% more than they would do on PAYE.
And was this because it was seen as their temporary workplace?
Yeah, effectively. But ultimately, because of the benefit of the individual working under that structure, under that model, that's what the umbrella model was designed to do.
But this travel and subsistence, that's no longer available, is it?
They removed it in 2016, 2017.
Okay.
Because people abused it. Quite a few brollies took advantage of the fact that they weren't auditing it and just doing the standard amounts deductions for everybody, so doing blanket deductions,
Yeah.
which is not what it was designed to do. What we did is we audited those individuals, that they were getting in their car, they were doing those X amount of miles, and the revenue tightened up on how that should be policed and how it should be audited.
Right. Okay.
What other bodies were doing is that, look,
Just put
just
in
claim-
X amount.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
I tell you what, we'll do £100 this week, whether you did it or whether you didn't.
Yeah.
Revenue's not going to check it, and that's where it became disproportionate at Parliament. The revenue found that people who were abusing it quite considerably, because they audited quite a few that were doing it, so they removed it.
So the landscape today for a teacher who earns £100 a day, they're being taxed and NI'd on that £500. There's no reclaimment of expenses available to them.
There's no benefit anymore. And the reason why umbrellas exist is that the agencies increase their bottom line on the margin by utilising them, but still sold the benefit to the worker that it's better to use a third party than to do it direct with us. But the workers were now starting to realise they're being deducted a margin.
Fee, the umbrella fee.
Employer's NI.
And this is really important.
Yeah.
The employer's NI is included within that £500
The teacher is paying the employer's NI
on behalf of the agency.
on behalf of the agency. So
the agency now needs to uplift their rate to cover those costs, and there's around a 15% increase.
Yeah.
Some do, some don't. Is the worker, this is the fundamental question, being paid less than they would be if they were direct sourced on PAYE? That's the grey area and the big question mark. I can't say it is happening or not happening, but the revenue have realised, with more umbrellas entering the market, some are again being creative and taking advantage.
Well, we've got that new legislation coming in next year, haven't we?
You know how I know that you're in the payroll world?
How do you know that, Dan?
Because you bring a trolley to a par 3 course.
If this landscape is changing, mate, why do you think that so many of the bodies are still not only operating but continuing to get into the market? Because let's face it, they're popping up all the bloody time.
I think it's because, the market has always been there to serve a purpose. Don't get me wrong, there's some really good businesses out there that exist, have been trading for over 20 years, been doing things compliantly, supported their contractors superbly, and they exist for a reason. But unfortunately, all of them get tarnished with the same brush.
Yeah.
So if one does something wrong, it looks like everybody's doing it wrong.
Yeah. We always say it. We say, look, payroll, there are a lot of good ones out there, but there's a few bad ones that ruin it for everyone.
It does.
Do you know what? It's not a difficult model. You get paid, you pay. I think what my gripe is, because of the industry we work in, and it may have been different in your world because you were working more with recruitment agencies, so they were temporary workers. There was never real end client engagement. It's just the fear mongering.
The scare tactics.
The scare
they
tactics.
use to sell the service.
Look, I've had a brolly, right? Sole CIS, so it wasn't the same setup. We did run PAYE umbrella. Business is hard enough. So if you're trying to underhand someone to try and convince them, there is a risk. We've had client inquiries.
Yeah,
right?
Using something long term, there is a risk.
Yeah. What they do to try and promote fear is, I think, what gets to me the most.
Yeah, and I understand that. Let's look at the supply chain again. End client hires a recruitment businesses to find staff to fulfil a project or, workers to come on site.
Yeah, need.
Okay. End client leaves that roles and responsibilities and liabilities to the recruitment business.
Yeah.
To do all of the finding of staff, promoting the staff, getting the staff into the jobs, fulfilling those requirements, and also payrolling them. So end client doesn't really know what the recruitment business is doing on half the time, and then recruitment business have to tell them, because as long as they're getting their workers on site and the workers are getting paid, they're not going to get any noise that goes up the food chain. Now, things have started to change. People were being creative. The workers were moaning and complaining about, I don't want to be a part of this. Why isn't the recruitment business payrolling me? Why are they using third parties? And that noise got bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's where they were complaining and lobbying at certain government bodies, where the revenue stepped in and said, okay, let's look at some form of magnifying glass to really know what's going on. And the past 5 years, they've studied the industry and studied the market. gone out for various consultations, reached out for people to ask them about their opinions of what actually is going on, and they unearthed a whole lot of things that were going wrong and problems. So now, in this new piece of legislation, which is about to kick in April 2026, they're saying if you use these types of models, Mr. End Client and Mr. Agency, and they were to do it wrong, and there was a risk and a liability of debt transfer, that's going to be coming to you. So you're no longer relying on the umbrella company taking that risk with the workers that are payrolled through it. That debt transfer gets shifted straight up to the risk of the end clients and the
end user,
the agencies themselves. All of a sudden, the shift is now becoming, the supply chain does need now to know who you're using.
Yeah.
They need to do it with a bit more of an audit and a much more forensic overview of what the
risk of getting it wrong are massive now. That idea that the risk has been moved to the umbrella company, that doesn't exist. If the umbrella company do it wrong, it goes back onto the end user.
I think the benefit for us, talking openly here, is this wholesale, and our worlds are different, and in the temporary market where a recruitment agency is involved, I fully agree that there is a need for a brolly or an umbrella company. But in our world where it's end client, the sale has always been, you don't have to worry about that risk and liability because we're taking that on our shoulders. But now, in 10 months' time,
April 26,
they can no longer say that.
No.
So the question is, what's the fundamental reason why they're in the marketplace?
Don't know what's going to happen, but there is a lot of nervousness out.
Yeah, I bet.
But I think there could be definitely a need and requirement still to outsource that to the compliant umbrella market space.
But this is it. The only ones that be left are the ones who've always done it right.
With some form of accreditation.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's also rumours that they could be regulated, because remember, both the recruitment and the umbrella markets are unregulated.
Well, they've created their own fake FCSA thing where they've got made a little accreditation that they police and they give each other to say they're accredited. And
it's recognised and it's got credibility because it's audited.
By who? Themselves?
EY, no, Deloitte's. So the top four
accountancy firms
have to do a forensic overview of that particular business before they get the rubber stamp and the seal of approver and the FCSA badge. That to me is a good thing. It can only be
better than nothing for sure.
Absolutely.
But going back to my just question, how can a construction company have the confidence in a third-party umbrella come April 26 that they're operating compliantly? Because there is always going to be a risk that HMRC will come in and challenge those subcontractors should be employed and not self-employed.
I've always questioned how construction workers should be on PAYE anyway. It doesn't seem to fit their model, but I know they do, and I understand that a lot of businesses still do it, but a vast majority, if you're CIS registered and you can pay yourself gross status as a self-employed, you shouldn't be on a PAYE model anyway. Well, again, I think that's where the market has got confused and abused.
I think I'm excited for the future from a selfish perspective and for the business, because nobody's talking about this new legislation coming in 2026 in our world.
Also not.
The umbrella companies who pay CIS to end client aren't talking about this, but it's real.
But you're all out of scope. It only applies to umbrella PAYE. CIS self-employed are out of scope of the legislation. That's why nobody's talking about it. But you can't classify an umbrella and CIS as the same. And I know some people run both models. But you can't classify them as the same. They are completely different.
My interpretation of the legislation, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, is that if the umbrella seem to be operated not compliantly, that there is a potential that the debt can be transferred to the end client.
Correct.
So, if a brolly is running a CIS model and HMRC come in and say, those guys should have been employed, not self-employed, as you've operated them.
Your contract's failed.
Your contract has failed. Has that umbrella then operated not compliantly? So the debt can then be transferred.
Absolutely. And this is where they've invested in tens of thousands of auditors and investigation staff to go out to ask those questions directly. Not just to the workers, but to the intermediary payroll companies, the recruitment businesses if there's another third party in the mix, and also directly to the end clients. How are you payrolling your workers? Will be the fundamental
question. The thing's right, if an umbrella company contract fails, isn't just going to be one client, it's going to go, right, who signed this contract? but they've also, because they have one contract.
They go after the
so
whole lot.
whole lot, where obviously our model is the contract unique to each customer, so it's bespoke. But if their contract they're betting on fails, all their clients are now exposed, not just one.
And all fail, and they will absolutely be licking their lips and rubbing their fingers and hands together, because if one fails, they all fail. That could be thousands and thousands of recouped revenue back into the
but
revenue.
I suppose I'm going to labour this point again, and we should have these parts. What guarantee can a payroll company give to an end client come April 2026 that they're operating compliantly? They can't. Anyway, I'm going to hold this birdie.
Ooh!
Didn't want it.
Yeah, well done, mate. Oh! He thought he had it. Yeah, shot.
Nice, mate.
So guys, tell me a little bit about Ash. You were Umbrella.
Yep.
What made you think you didn't want to be in Umbrella anymore and saw an opportunity or a gap to perhaps enter a market with a solution that nobody else had thought about? You know, tell me about it.
Like yours, in the 2010 to 2015, we really saw the hockey stick in terms of popularity of the use of the commercial contractor payroll company. It became saturated. We didn't really have any like creative models going on because, as I said earlier, it was simply get paid, pay subcontractor. But companies were entering the market, they were offering kickbacks. It became widely known that people were not paying over the VAT, not paying the CIS. So there became quite a lot of like fraud within the industry. We'd always like promoted ourselves as being, we were compliant. For my own health and happiness, I had to leave. So I decided to walk away. I just knew that for every one company that either came to us or went to work with Hudson's or the Guild or Marquee or Indigo, whoever it may have been, there was always this proportion of clients that didn't feel comfortable with offloading their hard-earned money to a third party. I looked at it and thought, well, why not take the bit that we used to protect ourselves, the contract, and why can't I just go and offer that out to clients who want the protection, and not the protection, but they want the peace of mind that HMRC aren't going to come in and try and misinterpret the relationship, but don't want to utilise a third party.
Yeah. So you're sort of putting more of the responsibility back onto the end clients to a certain extent from a payroll. You're saying to them that, look, payroll isn't that difficult. You can make it easy if you know how to do it. You can remove that element of risk to a certain extent by doing it in-house by this protection that you've introduced.
What you've got to remember, right, is before any company uses a payroll company, they are paying these subcontractors direct. So they've always done it. I think what we've learned, Dan and I, over the last 5-6 years of HardHats, is people or firms who utilise payroll companies, they now see the benefit now because they don't have the administrative like tasks of running payroll, but they only ever really wanted the protection. They had to give up their payroll in order to get that. So there was always a give-get.
But you've always been nervous. Are they really, the payroll companies, protecting the workers properly? Well, that's always been a bit of a grey area.
No, I think fundamentally, if the contractual relationship is broken between the client and the subcontractor, Flex Wood Windows was a case where in the last couple of years where the judge saw through the Brolly relationship, and the top client bore the responsibilities of the guy claiming gross misconduct. Do they protect them? Yes. Is it unethical? Yes. That's my gripe with it. I think people prey on the fear of the unknown. And let's face it, the only reason why it's an unknown is because of HMRC. If there was clear, accurate guidance, then the landscape would be a lot fairer like marketplace.
I think there's room for both models. I've always said that, and I'll always defend that. I think on the volume-based, larger construction firms, house builders, they've got a lot more responsibilities to try and run something in-house. The smaller independent, the SME, 1,000,000%, I think your model fits that market quite well, because the independent managed owned is going to be a little bit more nervous of using some form of third party when they don't have a clue what's really going on.
Yeah, and I think Construction's in a really interesting place right now, and I think the next 3 to 5 years it will change because of technology, and I think payment technology will improve, and there will be a piece of software that will be able to facilitate payments just as simply as what it is with a payroll company. We've just touched on the 2026 legislation. How much of an impact will that have within the marketplace? How much confidence will be lost from these bodies because they won't be able to no longer say, we can't give you this guarantee because if we are non-compliant, it could be going to you. There's risk and reward, isn't there? And I do agree with what you're saying, that there is a place for both of us.
I birdied it.
I had a little
Camera missed it.
Tell you what, that was a great effort.
Oh, yes, he does! Yeah.
Awesome.
I knew it. As I said then, mate, the kickbacks were rife when I was involved with the payroll company. But I think because they introduced the reverse VAT charge, which probably wouldn't have affected you in the teacher world, but did that sort of behaviour happen in your market?
Yeah, agencies got a little bit, they understood that there was a margin rebate.
5 skins. Anyway, carry on, as you were.
There was a bit of controversy with rebates, which
Okay.
still goes on today, and because more umbrellas entered the market, they all tried to compete and get a competitive edge over each other. Some decided to be a bit more creative in the PAYE structure, looking at ways of perhaps skimming a little bit more money off the worker. There was misuse of travel and subsistence, which the revenue had told everybody you couldn't use, so people took advantage of that again. And yeah, people got a little bit creative with holiday pay and AWR and the apprenticeship levy as well. That's another big controversial area. I think because the market got a little bit squeezed, people had to be a bit more creative to make a margin.
Fundamentally, the only ones who lose out when you've got rebates, kickbacks, however you refer to them, are the individuals and the workers themselves.
Someone's got to pay for it.
Someone's got to pay for it.
They don't really understand or know really
No.
half of them what's going on.
They don't.
No.
They all say we don't understand our payslip. However much you try to explain it, it's so complicated. It sounds simple. You get a gross amount, you deduct tax and national insurance, you get paid into your net pay. You look at half of the umbrella payslips that go.
This is that, there's this fee, this that.
It's all pretty.
Percentage of it is made up of
ambiguous.
holiday pay.
Yeah. And again, it's something the revenue have decided to crack down on because they want transparency. They want people to understand that their payslip means what it says when you go to work. I earn X, I get Y.
And a lot of people have earned a lot of money behind the confusion. You know, they take a little bit here, a little bit there, and they've literally made millions out of it. And they could say that, and they've ruined it for the genuine ones.
There was a model called Mini Umbrella, which entered into the sort of driving and logistics sector, because drivers and logistics primarily were on a limited company structure, and they enjoyed the benefit of a limited company freedom as almost like a self-employed model, but it was a limited company structure.
So it's more PSC, IR35.
They didn't really want umbrella because umbrella was a tax at sourced model. So they were up in uproar that they weren't going to go to work, they weren't going to work through the agency if you were to put me on that particular model. So Mini Umbrella was invented to circumnavigate that. So there was a benefit to the worker, a nice chunky rebate to the agency, and it grew and grew and grew. And the more, as you know, with one thing such a good thing, word spreads pretty quickly. One agency owner tells another agency owner, this is what I do, don't speak to them, I get X amount back, and this is where the revenue have gone right. It's fraud, we're going to clamp down on it, and most have gone underground. It exists today based on everything as the world remains the same is the same. Nothing that's changed until April 2026.
Yeah.
We keep saying it, but that is when D-Day will change the market.
We'll rename it HardHats Day.
We'll name that HardHats Day. Look, I think construction...
We'll get the bunting out.
Construction definitely changed when the reverse VAT charge was brought in. And
Yeah, that was a big change.
and it caused a lot of issues for the smaller SMEs because they're not geared up for
Well, cash flow took a massive
hit. But not many people realise the reason why the reverse VAT charge was introduced is because of the payroll umbrella companies operating in construction, disappearing with the VAT money. When you sit at the bottom of the chain, blimey, when we had the brolly, we were turning over £100 million a year. So I was sat on £20 million a year's worth of VAT and £20 million a year worth of SIS. It's £3.5 million a month.
And what a lot of people didn't realise is that although you think, right, I'm getting paid by this umbrella company who's engaging with my engager, the construction firm, there was layers of payroll companies where the money was moving around, and one of those happens to disappear, the VAT, and the revenue left.
But above the surface, and this is again like similar to what you've said there about know your supply chain due diligence. This is quite a big thing now, and we've seen that from clients who having not engaged umbrella companies but have worked with limited companies which have then disappeared for whatever reason, and they're wanting to know what steps they took to make sure that they onboarded them compliantly.
The shift is happening.
Yeah.
Businesses out there that have been and entered the market to protect everybody in the supply chain.
Yeah.
So, you know, not naming any names, but there are some shifts in compliance which is for the greater good of the worker and the end client, and perhaps the intermediary in between needs to now realise that they can't exploit the system.
So are you getting involved in educating your clients, recruitment agencies, these brollies with these changes? Is that what your shift is looking like for the next 12 to 18 months whilst we go through this new period?
I launched a brand called Comply Into for that very reason, you know, to be the transparency of shift in supply chain compliance, really, to make sure everybody in that supply chain was adhering to what the rules and regulations are. And I'd like to speak to as many businesses as possible to understand what their concerns are, what their pain points are, what the options are.
And these accreditations, the professional passport, the FCSA, albeit our opinions of them, they're there and they probably do have some benefit to the industry. Are they looking at, because I know you're quite closely tied to them, are they promoting positive changes with the new legislation coming in?
So FCSA have launched Due Diligence Hub, VeryPay, you know, and these are all born out of the changes. You know, Professional Passport is looking a little bit more stringently on their audits and the businesses that are working through them, you know, because Professional Passport is a little bit of a feeder accreditation into perhaps an FCSA, because FCSA would only allow members to be on once they've traded for a certain period of time.
Okay, so kind of new ones.
So you can't get onto FCSA unless you've got a proof of a balance sheet. I think it's up to 5 years. So people will go passport first and then look at perhaps becoming FCSA accredited thereafter. Most are going both. You know, do you need them all? I think the revenue have decided that they're going to create their own standard, you know.
Which is good.
The Fair Work Agency has been one that's been brought up that could be a regulator of sorts. It hasn't been confirmed, but...
It goes back to what you said. If the revenue just got grips of it, made it very clear, this is what it needs to be, this is the accreditation, this is the standards, then it's easy and everyone can understand it.
Everyone knows where to go and what to follow.
Exactly.
You know, it's like any industry, you get a kite mark or a standard that you need to prove that you're doing things the right way.
Compliantly. Yeah.
It's like the checker trade. You know, let's use that as an example. If you've been through a checker trade and you get that seal of approval, you know that work
You've been
that's going to
vetted
come on your
independently.
site, and he's had a rubber stamp and a kite mark.
And I think for the PAYE world, the accreditation, the regulation, perfect because of the skimming, because of the schemes that are set up.
Stuff,
In our world, it's sole CIS. There isn't. It's you're either employed or you're not. So I think It will be difficult in our world.
Yeah, it's not easy.
But you've touched on it. If there was transparency, it would just be a lot easier.
For everyone.
It's coming. It's coming.
Good.
Anyway,
I'll tell you what is coming. A nice cold beer that he's going to pay with his winnings.
Absolutely not.
With all these changes coming in, what does the next 12 to 18 months look like? Fly into, contract into. Talking to as many people as possible and keeping a very close eye on where the direction of travel is going to end up. I shift my business where the market trends go. Keeping up with those trends or being ahead of those trends, everybody's trying to second guess. I'll be talking and auditing and making sure that everybody's doing things correctly, but ultimately I want to go where the next payroll solution or the next fintech play or wherever the market's going to shift. I think tech will be the ability to do a lot of the heavy lifting and the AI nowadays within an agency where they're having the headache of should I bring it in-house or should I stay outsourced. I think there's a gap and an incredible opportunity, and I'm going to be looking at that, and we're both on the same page there.
Ooh. Well done, mate. Well done, mate.
What a way to finish on a high. There it is. Oh.
Yes. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Nice bird, mate.
Pleasure.
Nice bird.
Cheers,
you.
guys.
Look.
Finished with a bird. On the main course, finished on the bird on there.
You did.
On a serious note, I genuinely enjoy our conversations. I'm really appreciative for you coming in and hopefully giving people who watch this a better understanding of what the volume world actually means, what it does,
Yeah.
what it means for PAYE, what it means for CIS. As we continue our relationship, just keep the open comms and transparency and see where it goes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's been a brilliant day. I think what you're doing is educational. Keep it up. I wanted to be a part of it because I want to educate people that are a little bit unsure what the market's doing.
Yeah.
You've got a solution that people should come and find and come and talk to you about. Encourage people that don't know HardHats to get in touch, learn about it, understand it. You know, you will be benefit from a conversation, that's for sure. And let's just keep the conversations going.
I'm sure some of the payroll companies and the recruitment agencies will be watching this. So for them to find you, where can they find you at?
Direct on adam@supplyinto.co.uk. LinkedIn, mainly. I think most people know or I'm pretty proactive on LinkedIn, but they are the two main areas. Website, supplyinto.co.uk.
And the local golf range, perfecting the swing.
If they fancy a round of golf and they want to kick in, then come and talk to me.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks again, mate.
Cheers, guys.